The Unseen Billionaire, the Engagement Party Crash. Attention, have you ever wondered what happens when the past and present collide in the most explosive way? Get ready for a story of revenge, scandal, and a bittersweet redemption that will leave you breathless. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Rachel Hayes never imagined she would encounter her ex-husband Andrew again under such extraordinary circumstances. The last time they spoke, they had signed their divorce papers, parting in a fog of heartbreak and resentment. Now, 2 years later, he was parading his dazzling fiancée, Sophia Vance, at a high-profile event, oblivious to the astonishing secret that surrounded Rachel's new boyfriend, Elias Salazar. What Andrew didn't know was that Elias wasn't just a humble philanthropist. He was a billionaire with staggering power and influence, ready to usher Rachel into a life of luxury she never dared to dream of. Part 1. The Accidental Encounter. The rain hammered against the windows of the small cafe on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village. It was an unseasonably cold mid-November afternoon, and the cafe, Teresa's Corner, buzzed with patrons seeking refuge from the downpour. Rachel, dressed in a simple navy blouse and jeans, felt a strange mix of tranquility and persistent anxiety. A year ago, she wouldn't have imagined sitting here, at peace with herself, after the emotional storm her divorce had been. Her mind drifted back to the day she and Andrew signed the final papers. There was anger, regret, and enough tears to fill an ocean. They started their marriage as starry-eyed college sweethearts who believed love was enough to conquer the world. But over time, Andrew's ambition had soured into ruthless competition, and Rachel's dreams of a supportive partner had crumbled under constant criticism. They fought over money, lifestyle, and the future. Eventually, the cracks became chasms. A deafening horn outside jolted her from her thoughts. She checked her phone for messages. Elias Salazar, a man she had been dating for 2 months, had promised to join her after his meeting. They were supposed to head to an art gallery event organized by her dear friend Jenna Reyes, a promising curator. Rachel felt that old self-protective voice inside, reminding her not to expect too much. Yet Elias had never given her a reason to doubt him. He was kind, respectful, and oddly humble for a man whose gestures of generosity often left her speechless. Just then, the bell above the cafe door tinkled. Rachel looked up, expecting to see Elias. Instead, her heart nearly stopped. Andrew Sterling walked in, shaking off his umbrella. He hadn't changed much. Still tall, self-assured, with the slightest hint of arrogance in the way he scanned the room. Her stomach tightened. An old ache flared. She considered hiding behind her coffee cup, but it was too late. He had seen her. "Rachel," he said, approaching her table with cautious curiosity. "Wow, long time no see." Andrew wore a charcoal suit that probably cost as much as a month's rent downtown. His hair, once youthful and rebellious, was now impeccably styled. He looked in every respect the corporate success he had wanted to be. Andrew eyed the seat across from her. Without waiting for an invitation, he sat down, ignoring the line of customers behind him. Typical Andrew. He always had to be the center of attention. "Yes, it has been a while," Rachel said, trying to keep her voice steady. Despite her attempts at calm, her hands trembled slightly, and she placed her coffee cup back on the saucer to steady herself. It was surreal to face him again in such a random moment. She briefly wondered how life had treated him. For an instant, she recalled the fierce arguments that had escalated into their parting accusations about who contributed more financially, who was more supportive, who sacrificed more. She took a measured breath, determined not to let those memories ruin her newfound sense of self. "You look well," Andrew continued, his smile a little strained. "I just finished a meeting nearby." He paused, drumming his fingers on the table. "Look, I know things ended badly." Rachel braced herself for him to dredge up the past, or to throw some harsh criticism her way. Instead, he cleared his throat and picked up a napkin, wiping a non-existent spill from the table. Lagging, Andrew might have had a slight pang of guilt. She could see it in his shifting eyes. "But I hope you're doing okay," he finished. "I am," she said softly. She wasn't sure if that was 100% true, or if she just wanted to believe it. "I really am." It was then the cafe door opened again, letting in a gust of wind and drizzle. Rachel's heart leaped. Elias walked in, scanning the room, tall and elegant, in a tailored navy blazer and matching slacks. He saw Rachel, and a warm smile lit his face. Andrew followed his gaze, confusion flickering in his eyes. "Rachel, hello," Elias said, approaching with a certain quiet confidence. "Sorry I'm late. The meeting ran long." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and leaned in to give her a soft kiss on the cheek. Andrew raised an eyebrow. "So this is—" Rachel felt a momentary twinge of discomfort. "Andrew, this is Elias Salazar, my boyfriend." "Elias," Rachel continued, "this is Andrew Sterling, my ex-husband." The tension that settled at the table was palpable. Elias's expression remained kindly. He extended a hand to Andrew, who shook it with a certain stiffness. "Pleased to meet you," Elias said, maintaining his composure. "Likewise," Andrew offered. He sounded more polite than he looked. His eyes locked onto Elias, measuring him as one might size up a competitor. "Well, I'd better get going. I have to pick up Sophia soon." Rachel felt a sudden jolt at the name. Sophia. She vaguely recalled Andrew mentioning a coworker by that name during their last year of marriage, a coworker he seemed to admire excessively. Or perhaps it was her insecurities speaking. Either way, the mention of her replaced any lingering sadness with a simmering irritation. Andrew was engaged, apparently. She quickly composed herself to keep her expression neutral. "Nice running into you, Rachel," Andrew continued. He nodded to Elias. "And it was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Salazar. Maybe we'll cross paths again sometime." Elias offered a polite smile. "Perhaps. Take care." With that, Andrew exited the cafe, leaving behind a faint smell of expensive cologne and a whirlwind of unanswered questions. Elias pulled out a chair and sat down, placing a careful hand over Rachel's. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. Rachel forced a smile, determined not to let the chance encounter unsettle her. "I'm fine," she murmured. "Just surprising, that's all." She squeezed his hand gently. "If he ever bothers you, or if you need space, let me know. I can handle—" "No, it's fine," she interrupted. "I'm over it. At least, I think so." She sighed, thinking about how Andrew's presence still made her chest clench. "Come on, let's go to the gallery show. Jenna is waiting for us." Elias nodded and rose, helping Rachel with her coat, like a perfect gentleman. Stepping back out onto the rainy street, Rachel realized Andrew had left her with a million conflicting thoughts. Little did she know that this casual encounter was only the beginning of an intricate web, about to unravel a network that would pit old resentments against new hopes, and reveal secrets so shocking that no one involved could come out unaltered. Part 2. The $10 billion specter. 2 days later, Rachel found herself in a sunny corner of her apartment, leafing through old photo albums she had shoved into a storage box after the divorce. Why she had chosen this exact moment to relive old memories, she couldn't fully explain. Perhaps seeing Andrew had triggered a wave of nostalgia, good, bad, and everything in between. Her phone chimed. It was a message from Jenna Reyes. "Did you see the article in the New York Post about Andrew's upcoming engagement party?" "I heard. They're going all out. Total Society Pages stuff." "You okay?" Rachel frowned. She quickly responded, "I'm fine, just a little shocked. We ran into him yesterday." Jenna replied with a barrage of astonished emojis, followed by, "He is showing off Sophia in a big way. Apparently, she's from an influential family. Rumor is they're throwing an over-the-top event next month. If you need moral support, you know I'm here." Rachel exhaled deeply. So that was it. Andrew, always obsessed with status, was announcing his new engagement with fanfare. Deep down, a flicker of pain ignited. They had once talked about a modest vow renewal when they reached their 10th anniversary, just a private event with close friends. Now, that dream was moot, overshadowed by his grand new spectacle. Flipping back through the photos, she found one from their college days. Andrew, hair messy and eyes bright, hugging her tightly outside their campus dorm. The memory of that hopeful young couple made her chest ache. How had everything gone so terribly wrong? She put the photo aside, determined not to let her emotions take over. Her life had shifted since the divorce. She had her own architecture studio, Hayes Designs, ironically, keeping the last name because her business had been registered under that name before the separation. She had built a modest but growing clientele, and then there was Elias, who had walked into her life like a breath of fresh air. She thought of Elias's warm smile and gentle manner. They met at a charity gala Jenna had invited her to months ago. He had been there discreetly, introduced as a philanthropic donor to several social causes. They had hit it off, discussing art, architecture, and travel. She had only gleaned minimal hints about his true wealth, an inheritance from his late grandfather, something about partial ownership in a tech conglomerate, because Elias rarely talked about finances. Her phone rang again, snapping her out of her reverie. This time, it was a text from Elias himself. "Early dinner tonight, or I can swing by your studio and we can grab takeout later." Rachel smiled at the screen. A wave of gratitude washed over her. She sent a reply. "Dinner sounds perfect. I'm about to head to the studio for a few hours, but I'll be free by 6. See you then." She returned the photo albums to their dusty box and tucked them away in a closet, hoping she could do the same with the emotional baggage they carried. Andrew and Sophia's grand engagement party would undoubtedly become the topic of gossip. Rachel just had to get on with her own life, reminding herself the past was the past. Yet, deep down, she couldn't shake a strange feeling that her paths with Andrew weren't finished crossing, and that the ex-husband she thought she'd left behind might come roaring back into her life, bringing trouble with him. CTA, are you ready for the ultimate betrayal? Hit the like button now and tell us in the comments if you think Rachel should attend Andrew's party. The bell above the elegant French bistro tinkled as Elias guided Rachel inside, a hand lightly posed on her lower back. Le Papillon was a luxury spot in the Upper East Side, famous for its layered soufflé and impeccable wine list. Soft jazz music and a warm glow from vintage chandeliers welcomed them. The maitre d' recognized Elias immediately and led them to a private corner table, away from prying eyes. Rachel settled into her seat, scanning the gleaming silverware and crisp white tablecloths. She noticed other couples at nearby tables, some of them glancing in Elias's direction as if they recognized him, or at least suspected he was someone important. It was something she had grown accustomed to. Every time they went out, there always seemed to be a hint of speculation in people's stares. Elias handled it with polite indifference, never revealing more than necessary. "I took the liberty of ordering a bottle of your favorite red," Elias told her, his smile lighting up his face. "I thought we could celebrate your new design contract." Rachel's lips curved upward. Earlier that day, she had signed a major contract with a boutique hotel chain, something that could catapult her architecture studio to the next level. They had found her work on social media and reached out after seeing her portfolio. "That's so thoughtful," she said. "I still can't believe they chose me." Elias reached across the table and took her hand. "You deserve every success. Congratulations." A sommelier approached with the wine, pouring a glass for each of them. They toasted in silence, the gentle clink of glass echoing in the intimate space. Rachel took a sip. The velvety texture of the wine warmed her throat. They traded news about their day. Elias mentioned an upcoming trip to San Francisco for a philanthropic conference, carefully avoiding too many details of his financial dealings. Rachel excitedly talked about the forthcoming designs she was conceptualizing for the hotel chain. Midway through the meal, a sumptuous coq au vin for her and grilled salmon for him, Elias cleared his throat. "I've been thinking," he began, looking down at his plate as if rehearsing his words, "about introducing you to some people in my circle. You know, friends, business associates. I just want them to know about the amazing woman I'm with." Rachel paused, her fork halfway to her mouth. "Really?" she asked, her heart fluttering. They had been dating for a couple of months, but she still felt they were in a delicate stage. Meeting people in his circle sounded potentially overwhelming, given Elias's circle was likely filled with heavy hitters. He nodded, setting down his napkin. "I don't want to pressure you into anything, but there's a fundraiser next week. I'd love for you to be on my arm, if you're up for it." A whirlwind of emotions washed over her. Excitement, curiosity, a little fear. "Of course," she replied softly. "That would be an honor." Elias's face lit up. He reached for her hand again, gently rubbing his thumb over her knuckles. "Thank you. I'm so happy to have you in my life, Rachel." They lingered over dessert, an exquisite flourless chocolate tart, and talked about simpler things. Favorite books, childhood memories, future travel plans. Rachel found herself floating in the warmth of possibility, letting go of the dark corners of her past. Andrew's name floated unspoken between them, but she felt no need to mention it that night. This was her moment with Elias, a space free from regret. By the time they finished, the bistro was closing. They stepped out into the crisp night. "I'll drive you home," Elias said, leading her to a sleek black sedan waiting at the curb. She recalled the first time he showed up with a chauffeur. She had insisted on taking a taxi to meet him, finding it too extravagant to arrive in a chauffeured car. Over time, she had grown more comfortable, though she still insisted on paying her share whenever possible. Inside the car, Elias's arm wrapped around her shoulders, and she leaned into him, relaxed. She closed her eyes, letting the glow of streetlights flash past the windows as they drove through the city. The hum of the engine lulled her into a peaceful sleep. In that moment, she dared to believe that her life could move forward, unburdened by the heartache that had once consumed her. Part 3. The public humiliation. The following week arrived in a whirlwind of nerves and excitement. Rachel stood in front of the mirror in Elias's penthouse, a modern, expansive space overlooking Central Park. She wore an elegant emerald green evening gown that flattered her figure. Jenna had come by earlier to help her style her hair in a loose updo. Now, her reflection radiated a quiet confidence she wasn't entirely sure she felt. Elias, adjusting his cufflinks, walked up behind her. "You are stunning," he murmured, giving her a gentle kiss on the temple. "Are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Rachel said, managing a small smile. "I still don't know who will be there." Elias hesitated for a moment. "It will be a mix of philanthropists, investors, and some celebrities who champion various causes. These events can be a bit overwhelming, so if at any point you want to leave, just let me know." They arrived at the grand ballroom of the Laurelwood Hotel, greeted by the flash of cameras and a crowd of wealthy donors spilling out of elegant cars. Rachel kept close to Elias, feeling a rush of relief when they finally passed through the entrance and into the elegantly decorated hall. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, and waiters circulated with flutes of champagne. Almost immediately, a striking woman with auburn hair rushed over. "Elias, darling!" she cooed, air-kissing him on both cheeks. "So good to see you, and who is this stunning lady?" Elias placed a hand on Rachel's back. "Monica, meet Rachel Hayes, my girlfriend. Rachel, this is Monica Herrera, a board member of the Global Arts Foundation." Monica's eyes lit up. "A pleasure to meet you, dear. Elias told me you're an architect. How wonderful. We must talk about our new cultural center we're designing in the Lower East Side." They exchanged pleasantries. Rachel felt slightly giddy from Monica's enthusiasm. As more people approached, the conversations followed a similar pattern. Kind greetings, slight curiosity about Rachel's background, then a pivot to philanthropic or business interests. She quickly realized that many of these people moved in orbits of unimaginable wealth, forging alliances through donations and social events. Midway through the evening, she stepped away to admire an exhibit showcasing the foundation's achievements. Photos of hospitals built in rural regions, art scholarships granted, and environmental restoration projects. She was quietly reading a plaque about a conservation effort in Africa when a voice startled her from behind. "Rachel Hayes? Is that really you?" The voice was masculine, vaguely familiar. She turned to see David Ruiz, an old acquaintance of Andrew's, and a man Andrew had once argued with over property projects. David's eyes widened in recognition. "I almost don't believe it. How have you been?" Rachel forced a polite smile. "I'm well, David. I didn't expect to see you here." "I'm a patron," he replied, swirling the wine in his glass. "Always good for business to donate to worthy causes, right?" He gave a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "In fact, I have a table next to Andrew Sterling at his upcoming engagement event. Are you planning to attend?" Rachel felt her posture stiffen. "I'm still deciding," she said cautiously. David let out a low chuckle. "You should go. Andrew hasn't stopped bragging about his new fiancée, something about her father's connections in government. He's definitely on a roll. You might want to see what you're missing." A flash of annoyance went through her. "Trust me, I'm not missing anything. Besides, I'm here with someone else," she said, looking around for Elias, hoping to end this awkward conversation. David caught the hint. "All right, I'll leave you to it. Take care, Rachel." He walked away, wine glass in hand, leaving her with a bitter taste of the past. She exhaled, leaning against the exhibit. Suddenly, a warm palm touched her shoulder. She turned to see Elias, worry in his gaze. "Everything all right?" She forced a smile. "Yes, just someone from my past life. Come on, let's get some air." He nodded, guiding her to a terrace overlooking the city skyline. The cool evening air brushed against her cheeks. She closed her eyes, feeling Elias's presence behind her. "Rachel," he said quietly, "I know running into people from your past can dredge up unpleasant memories, but I hope you know I'm here for you." She turned to face him, tears threatening to form. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm fine. It's just that my ex-husband's engagement party is days away, and I guess I'm still dealing with how he used to undercut me. I don't want to be that woman who can't let go." Elias brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You are not that woman. But if you decide you need to go to that engagement event to close a chapter, I'll go with you." A small spark of gratitude ignited in her chest. "I appreciate that," she said, moving closer to rest her head on his shoulder. High above the city, under the glow of the skyscraper lights, Rachel began to feel the event spinning in a direction she couldn't fully predict. Something told her Andrew's luxurious celebration would be more than just an engagement party. Secrets were brewing, some of which might change everything she believed about her past and her future. Interactive question. Given Andrew's pride and Elias's immense but discreet wealth, what do you think will happen when they meet again at the engagement party? Will Andrew try to humiliate Rachel, or will Elias's presence silence him? Leave your predictions below. Part 4. The Showdown at the Plaza. The Plaza Hotel in New York City glittered with opulence when Rachel arrived on Elias's arm. She had decided, after much thought, that attending Andrew's engagement party was a necessary step to fully close the chapter on her former marriage. Elias, in a sleek black tuxedo, was a fortress of calm at her side. Rachel wore a midnight blue dress that contrasted beautifully with her dark hair, and she felt a surge of confidence she wished she'd had years ago. A red carpet lined the entrance, where paparazzi snapped photos of notable guests, many of them CEOs, politicians, and socialites. Upon entering, a lavish floral arrangement dominated the lobby, and classical music drifted from a string quartet in the ballroom. Waiters glided through the crowd, carrying trays of champagne and canapés. Within minutes, Andrew appeared. He looked immaculate in a tailored suit, his expression tinged with surprise at seeing Rachel and Elias. Andrew's fiancée, Sophia, was by his side, an ethereal figure in a glittering silver gown, her auburn hair styled in an elegant updo. Sophia's eyes flickered with interest as she recognized Rachel. "Rachel, I'm so glad you could make it," Sophia said with a cordial smile, extending a hand. "Andrew mentioned running into you not long ago." Rachel shook her hand, noting the enormous diamond on Sophia's engagement ring. She put on her own polite smile. "Thank you for the invitation." Andrew cleared his throat. "Elias," he said, nodding in acknowledgement. "A pleasure to see you again," Elias replied with quiet courtesy. "Likewise. Congratulations on your engagement." A somewhat awkward pause followed, broken when Sophia touched Andrew's arm and excused them to greet other guests. Rachel exhaled, shooting Elias a grateful look. "Well, that wasn't so bad," she whispered, though her pulse was still racing. They moved further into the ballroom, sampling hors d'oeuvres and greeting a few acquaintances. Jenna was there with her boyfriend, beckoning Rachel over to a corner. They chatted for a while, Jenna sliding witty comments about Andrew's pretentious decor choices. Still, a thread of tension wove itself throughout the night. As they watched from afar, Andrew and Sophia commanded the crowd. Sophia seemed perfectly poised, a flash of sophistication in every gesture. Andrew, for his part, looked proud, almost smug. As he introduced Sophia to key figures in the room, it was a spectacle of social maneuvering that made Rachel's head spin. Midway through the evening, a hush fell over the ballroom. Andrew tapped a microphone. "Good evening, everyone," he said, his voice ringing out. "Sophia and I want to thank you for joining us to celebrate our engagement. We are thrilled to share our happiness with all of you." Polite applause rippled through the room. Sophia took the microphone with a gracious smile. "I couldn't be more grateful to have Andrew by my side. We look forward to many more milestones together, and we are touched to have our friends and family supporting us tonight. Thank you." Another round of applause. Andrew handed the microphone to the band, which struck up a lively tune. People resumed their conversations as waiters delivered fresh champagne. Elias turned to Rachel. "You carried yourself like a queen," he whispered. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "I think this is enough for me to close this chapter. Maybe we can leave soon." Then, from behind them, a voice scoffed. "Leaving so soon? You haven't even congratulated the happy couple properly." It was Andrew's mother, Patricia Sterling, a woman with a penchant for wearing pearls and disapproval. She had always liked Rachel at first, until the divorce, when she had apparently decided Rachel was to blame. "Hello, Patricia," Rachel said, keeping her tone steady. Patricia looked Elias up and down. "And who is this gentleman?" Before Rachel could speak, Elias smiled courteously. "My name is Elias Salazar, ma'am. I'm here with Rachel." Patricia's gaze narrowed, as if calculating net worth at a glance. "You look familiar. Have we met?" Elias's calm exterior betrayed no discomfort. "I'm not sure," he said evenly. "Perhaps at a charity gala. Must be that." Patricia huffed, turning her attention back to Rachel. "I suppose it's good you've moved on, though some of us wonder if you'll ever truly appreciate what Andrew brought to your life." Elias's jaw subtly tightened, but he said nothing, allowing Rachel to respond. She refused to shrink under Patricia's condescension. "With all due respect, I don't think that's your concern anymore. I wish Andrew and Sophia the best." Patricia's lips thinned. "Well, enjoy the party." She turned and walked away, leaving a cloud of tension in her wake. Elias placed a supportive hand on Rachel's back. "Are you all right?" "Fine," Rachel said quietly. "Let's step out for a moment." They strolled onto a small terrace overlooking the city lights. The music and bustle from inside softened. Rachel finally let out a long sigh, releasing the built-up tension. "That woman always made me feel inadequate." Elias rubbed her shoulder gently. "You are far from inadequate. I'm proud of you for standing your ground." A gust of wind ruffled Rachel's hair. She turned back to Elias, about to thank him again, when a whirlwind of voices from inside the ballroom caught their attention. They exchanged curious glances and stepped back inside to see Andrew at the microphone once more, Sophia beside him. But this time, they looked rattled. "Please, everyone, remain calm." Andrew's voice boomed over the speakers. The crowd looked uneasy. Rachel saw a beefy security guard elbowing his way through the guests, heading in their direction. Alarmed, she wondered what was happening. "Excuse me, Mr. Salazar," the guard said, his eyes shifting between Elias and Andrew on the stage. "Could you come with me, please?" Rachel's heart sank. She grabbed Elias's arm. "What is going on?" The guard looked uncomfortable. "We received a tip that a certain guest might be here under false pretenses." A silence fell over the room as guests turned to watch the commotion. Andrew took the microphone again, his voice strained. "Elias Salazar, we need to verify your credentials. We cannot have just anyone crashing this event." A wave of disbelief washed over Rachel. "You indirectly invited us." But still, Sophia moved closer to the microphone, her nervous gaze shifting between Andrew and Elias. "Andrew, this doesn't have to be a scene." Elias raised his hands calmly. "It's fine," he said, addressing the guard. "I can clarify who I am, but I'd like to know who is behind this tip." People whispered. The rumor mill churned. Rachel stared at Andrew, wondering if he had orchestrated this humiliation. Andrew, for his part, looked genuinely taken aback. Patricia, standing nearby, looked smug. Suddenly, a well-dressed older man in the corner, someone Rachel recognized as Sophia's father, Gerard Vance, spoke up. "I made the call," he said in a sharp tone. He stepped forward, staring intently at Elias. "I've heard rumors about you, Mr. Salazar. Rumors that you claim to be wealthy, philanthropic. But no one can pinpoint the source of your fortune. We cannot allow just anyone into these circles." Rachel felt indignation boil in her veins. "He is not just anyone. He is—" Elias gently squeezed her hand, signaling her to remain calm. He faced Gerard Vance with remarkable composure. "Sir, you are right that I typically keep a low profile regarding my finances. But let me assure you, I am more than capable of attending this event. If you wish, we can step aside and verify whatever credentials you require." A tense standoff ensued. Andrew cleared his throat, uncertain. Sophia looked mortified by her father's outburst. The guard remained in the air, awaiting instruction. Elias calmly reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. He handed it to the guard and said, "If you call this number, my offices can confirm my identity. I am a lead investor in Lumina Technologies, among other ventures." A wave of recognition swept through the crowd. Lumina Technologies was a major name in the tech sector. Gerard Vance paled, snatching the card from the guard to read it. Andrew's eyes flickered with confusion and perhaps envy. Sophia's father let out a breath, obviously realizing he had made a grave mistake by publicly confronting Elias. The guard spoke quietly into his earpiece for a moment. Then he nodded. "Confirmed, sir. My apologies, Mr. Salazar." He stepped aside, leaving Elias unimpeded. An awkward silence filled the room. Elias turned back to Andrew and Sophia, keeping his voice serene. "Congratulations again on your engagement. I believe we will take our leave now." With that, he took Rachel's arm, guiding her toward the exit. Jenna followed, muttering curses for what they had just endured. Outside in the lobby, Rachel's emotions erupted. "I can't believe they tried to kick you out like you were an imposter." She blinked back tears of anger. Elias's expression softened. "I've dealt with worse. Let's go home." And as they stepped out into the night, one undeniable fact hardened in Rachel's mind. Andrew and Sophia hadn't just tried to embarrass her. They had tried to embarrass Elias too. There was no going back now, and the next encounter would undoubtedly bring even more explosive revelations. CTA. The confrontation was explosive. Did Elias do the right thing by leaving, or should he have exposed Andrew's arrogance? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Part 5. The Unraveling. The morning after the disastrous engagement soiree, social media was ablaze with gossip. The news of the confrontation at the plaza had spread quickly. Several tabloids and society blogs ran headlines like, "Billionaire investor mistaken for crasher at party," and Fiancée's father sparks confrontation at lavish engagement. Rachel woke up to frantic texts from Jenna detailing the fiasco and its online aftermath with glee. Even Andrew had tried to call her the night before, leaving a voicemail she ignored. She wasn't interested in his excuses, but curiosity drove her to listen to it. His voice sounded altered. "Rachel, hi. I'm sorry about what happened last night. I had no idea Sophia's father would react like that. Look, maybe we can talk soon, clear things up. Let me know." She deleted the message. Annoyance mingled with a strange satisfaction. She took comfort in the fact that Elias's identity had finally come to light. He was no longer the quiet man in the shadows, but a formidable figure who commanded respect in elite circles. Elias, for his part, met the drama with his characteristic calm. That morning, he invited Rachel to his penthouse for breakfast. Over coffee and pastries, he broke down the whole fiasco with mild amusement. "I suppose the Vances have a notion that I'm some kind of scam artist who bought his way into high society. It's not the first time someone has doubted my intentions." Rachel frowned over the rim of her mug. "It's not fair. You have to prove your worth every time. You've done so much good with your philanthropic work." He shrugged. "Money complicates relationships. People either see the fortune and want something from me, or suspect I have some hidden agenda." Reaching across the small cafe table in his living room, he brushed his thumb over her hand. "It's one of the reasons I don't talk much about it, but I also don't want you caught in the crossfire." Rachel shook her head, intertwining her fingers with his. "I'm proud of who you are, Elias. If anyone has a problem with it, that's their issue." A tenderness flickered in his eyes, and he leaned in to give her a soft kiss on the forehead. In that moment, his phone vibrated. He glanced at it, his brows furrowing. "Everything all right?" Rachel asked. He sighed. "It's an urgent matter with one of my ventures. Something about an acquisition deal. I might have to fly to San Francisco tomorrow." Rachel put down her coffee, worry surfacing. "For how long?" "A couple of days, maybe a week. I'm not sure yet." He exhaled. "I hate the timing. I hate leaving right after all this drama." She offered a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. Take care of your business. I'll be fine." They spent the day together, strolling through the park and visiting a local art exhibit, opting to ignore the media frenzy surrounding them. Rachel felt a growing sense of security in Elias's presence, as if together they could weather any storm. However, beneath her calm, she harbored a suspicion that Andrew would not let this incident go unpunished. He thrived on control and hated appearing inferior or overshadowed. Now that Elias's wealth was public knowledge, Rachel suspected Andrew would feel threatened. And where Andrew felt threatened, trouble usually followed. Her intuition was not wrong. That same afternoon, just as she was about to head back to her apartment, her phone buzzed with another call from an unknown number. She hesitated. Then she answered. "Rachel, it's Sophia." The voice was shaking with forced composure. "We need to meet. I need to talk to you about Andrew." Rachel's pulse quickened. Sophia? Why would she call? She half expected an ambush or a reprimand for overshadowing the engagement party. Yet, curiosity drove her to agree. They settled on meeting at a quiet tea house the next day. As Rachel hung up, she felt a knot of unease in her stomach. Sophia's tone had not been one of gloating or confrontation. It had sounded almost desperate. Perhaps there were cracks in the perfect facade of Andrew and Sophia's engagement, and if so, what explosive secrets might come out the next day. Part 6. The True Enemy. A gray sky threatened rain as Rachel slid into a corner booth at the Secret Garden tea house. Sophia arrived shortly after, wearing a simple black coat over a cream blouse, her posture stiff with tension. "Thank you for meeting with me," Sophia said quietly, sitting across from Rachel. Her hands trembled slightly as she took off her coat. Rachel scrutinized Sophia's face, noting slight dark circles under her eyes. She didn't look like the radiant fiancée from the engagement party. "You're welcome," Rachel responded. "What is going on?" A waiter approached, and Sophia ordered chamomile tea, while Rachel asked for Earl Grey. They waited in uncomfortable silence until the waiter left. Sophia cleared her throat. "I know this might sound strange, but I don't have many people I can talk to about Andrew. He rarely speaks about you, but I did some digging. I know how your marriage ended, abruptly and painfully." Rachel's stomach clenched. "What do you want to know?" Sophia interlaced her fingers. "Is he always so controlling? I've seen flashes like last night. How he handled the fiasco with your boyfriend. He was furious, not because my father embarrassed Elias, but because he felt eclipsed. We had a huge fight afterward." She swallowed, looking down at her hands. "I have money and connections, but Andrew wants me for more than that. He wants me to help him ascend." Rachel felt a pang of empathy. Despite her resentments, she knew how disarming Andrew's charm could be, how easy it was to get swept up in his grand dreams. "Then why contact me?" Rachel asked gently. Sophia hesitated, glancing around the tea house as if fearing eavesdroppers. "Because I'm not sure I can go through with this engagement, and I need to know if Andrew has done anything questionable in the past, financially or otherwise. My father is pushing for the wedding, but I'm scared." Rachel's thoughts went to the arguments about money in her marriage. Andrew once suggested they use her personal savings to finance a risky venture. When she refused, he called her short-sighted and unsupportive. But did he do anything illegal? Not that she knew of. "I can't say he ever broke the law," Rachel conceded. "He just manipulates situations to his advantage, often at someone else's expense." Sophia exhaled as if deflating. "I see," she murmured. Their teas arrived, and she stirred hers absently. "He's pressuring me to sign a prenuptial agreement that heavily favors him, something about future earnings based on my father's investments." Rachel's eyes widened. "That's a major red flag." "I know," Sophia said, tears threatening to spill. "He wants me to sign before we set a wedding date. My father sees it as standard business, but I'm not comfortable. And last night, the way he raged about Elias made me realize I don't even know this man I'm engaged to." A wave of sympathy washed over Rachel. Despite her anger at Andrew, she couldn't deny that Sophia was trapped in a toxic dynamic. You have every right to be cautious, Rachel said softly. Listen, if you need someone to talk to or a place to clear your head, you can call me. I'm not your enemy. Andrew is my past. Sophia inclined her head. Thank you, I appreciate that. They drank their tea in thoughtful silence. After a few minutes, Sophia spoke again. I'm planning to confront Andrew about postponing the wedding until I feel secure about everything. I'm not sure how he'll react. Rachel recalled Andrew's explosive temper when challenged. Whatever you decide, be careful. Andrew can be vindictive if he feels betrayed. Keep your support system close. Sophia nodded, holding back tears. I will. And Rachel, I'm sorry about how my father treated you. He thinks everyone is after our money, but he was wrong about Elias. Rachel smiled gently. Apology accepted. They said goodbye outside the tea house, the clouds overhead threatening a downpour. As Sophia walked away, her shoulders hunched against the wind, Rachel felt a surge of complicated emotions. Pity for Sophia, disgust for Andrew, and a flicker of relief that she had escaped that life. Yet she also sensed that this conversation would have repercussions. Andrew, feeling cornered, was capable of lashing out in dangerous ways. And Sophia, if she chose to challenge him, might expose a side of Andrew that Rachel knew all too well, the side that never forgave or forgot perceived slights. A storm was brewing, one that might change everyone's lives. Part 11. The Poetic Justice. Rachel woke up to a flurry of frantic messages from Jenna. Bleary-eyed, she turned on the news to see a breaking segment. Andrew Sterling under investigation for fraud. Only days after his ostentatious engagement party, he was now the target of a high-profile investigation for alleged financial crimes. Reporters claimed he had falsified records in a corporate merger, exploiting his fiancée's family connections for illegal gain. Rachel felt a mix of emotions: shock, vindication, and a strange residual sadness for someone she had once loved. Her phone rang again, and Jenna breathlessly gave her the details. Sophia's father, Gerard Vance, had apparently pulled all his support, and rumors suggested Sophia herself had handed over incriminating evidence to investigators. Andrew, facing potential arrest, was desperate and alone. As Rachel pondered the gossip, an incoming call from an unknown number startled her. She answered, bracing herself for whatever was coming. "Rachel!" Andrew's unmistakable voice sounded raw. "I have no more options. They've frozen my accounts, and Sophia is gone. You have to help me." His words tumbled out in a panic-stricken rush. "Andrew," she said dryly, "I am no longer your wife, and your problems are not mine. If you falsified documents or defrauded investors, that is your responsibility." He let out a ragged laugh. "Everyone thinks they know best. All these society people only care about one thing: winning. I played by their rules, and now I'm the villain. Even you are abandoning me." His tone turned accusatory. "You realize Elias and his billions won't always be there to clean up your messes." Rachel bristled, but kept her voice firm. "My life is no longer tied to yours. Don't call me again." She hung up abruptly, leaving her shaken but strangely liberated. In that moment, she realized Andrew's downfall brought her definitive closure. She felt no lingering responsibility. He was simply a cautionary tale about unchecked ambition, and she was done carrying the weight of his mistakes. 2 days later, Rachel's boyfriend, Elias Salazar, returned from his business trip in San Francisco. The moment she saw him step out of the elevator into his penthouse, relief flooded her. Dropping her handbag, she enveloped him in a fierce hug. He stroked her hair, murmuring how much he had missed her before she led him to the sofa. "While you were gone, Andrew's entire world collapsed. He's under investigation. Sophia broke off the engagement and is practically begging me for help." Elias frowned with concern. He called you directly?" "He did." She nodded. "He wants money for a good lawyer." I refused. It felt cruel, but I couldn't let him drag me back into his chaos. Elias exhaled, evident relief washing over him. "I'm proud of you for setting boundaries. If you ever feel threatened, I will do whatever it takes to protect you." They spent the next few hours catching up, discussing the whirlwind of legal drama and media coverage. Even the tabloids took a keen interest, linking Elias's quiet power to Andrew's spectacular ruin. Rachel hated the gossip, but Elias assured her that such rumors would fade. That night, they attended a charity art auction in support of local artists. Walking into the gallery, photographers snapped pictures of Elias, now fully recognized as one of the city's most generous philanthropists. Rachel stiffened momentarily at the attention, but he leaned in, whispering, "Relax. We're here for a good cause." Heartened by his warmth, she browsed the various artworks, eventually falling in love with a vibrant modern piece. Elias outbid everyone else, gifting Rachel the painting with a discreetly triumphant smile. Afterward, they hosted a small gathering with close friends at Elias's penthouse to celebrate both Rachel's new contract with a boutique hotel chain and the addition of the striking art piece to her design portfolio. Jenna arrived, hugging Rachel and excitedly recounting the latest on Andrew's investigation, from canceled contracts to outraged investors. While a part of Rachel felt a pang of pity, she couldn't deny a sense of affirmation that she had done the right thing in leaving him. Later that night, once the guests had departed, Rachel and Elias sat alone in the dimly lit living room. The city lights twinkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off the newly hung painting. Wine glass in hand, Rachel gazed out at the skyline and felt a profound current of tranquility. Gone were the days she doubted her worth due to Andrew's criticism or endured his backhanded compliments. She turned to Elias, who watched her with tender stillness. "I never thought I'd end up here," she admitted, her voice catching. "A year ago, I was still broken from the divorce. Now, everything feels possible." Elias took her hand, gently kissing her knuckles. "You deserve a partner who sees your brilliance, not someone who tears you down to boost their own ego. As for the rest, my money, my connections, I want you to know I admire your independence. I'm here to support you, but you've already proven you can stand on your own." His words filled her with a warmth that dissipated any lingering insecurity. Together they walked to the sprawling window. The city stretched out below them, like an endless tapestry of lights. Rachel rested her head on Elias's shoulder, remembering the battered woman she had been, overshadowed by Andrew's demands, made to feel less than enough. She had reclaimed her life, rediscovered her passion for architecture, and opened her heart to a man who honored her dreams instead of smothering them. In the streets, the glittering chaos of New York pulsed, indifferent to one man's fall or another's triumph. Yet, in that quiet, intimate moment, Rachel felt renewed, unbound from her past, and embracing a future that shone with possibilities. Andrew's tragedy now belonged to the tabloids, while she stood on the brink of a new dawn, hand in hand, with a man whose quiet strength and limitless devotion she treasured above all else. Conclusion and final call to action. Image: Rachel and Elias stand together, looking out at the NYC skyline, the modern art piece glowing indoors. Elias's true gift. Rachel's story is a testament that even when life collapses around you, when old love turns toxic and betrayal seems inevitable, you can rise stronger and wiser. She walked away from her divorce to find true affection in the arms of a billionaire who valued her not for her bank balance, but for her unbroken spirit. Andrew's downfall was a harsh lesson on pride and misguided ambition. Yet in the end, Rachel didn't gloat or seek revenge. She simply moved on to the happiness she truly deserved. What did you think of this incredible story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If this story thrilled you, please like it to let us know. Share it with friends who love a good drama. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more gripping tales of love, loss, and redemption. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching.